This is the Lobo Pod.
Hey, Lobo fans. Welcome to this special edition of the Lobo Podcast presented by Green Summit Landscape Management. We're here today with a very special guest as we celebrate Retro Day for UNM women's basketball on January 31st versus Utah State. No better person to talk to than the legend, Coach Don Flanagan here. Coach Flanagan was the head women's basketball coach at El Dorado High School from 1979 to 1995, where he compiled an unprecedented 401 wins and 13 losses and won 11 state championships there. In 1995, he became the head coach of the UNM women's basketball team, and his 16 seasons in the helm, he compiled 340 wins, 168 losses, including 13 straight postseason appearances, 8 NCAA tournaments, 5 Mountain West tournament titles, 2 regular season Mountain West championships, and 1 WAC tournament championship. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. I haven't done this in a while, so
it's great to have you. Great to have you here.
It's great to be here. It's great to do it again.
Yes.
I know why you call it Metro now.
Yes. So let's start from the beginning. If I remember right, you applied for the UNM women's basketball head coaching position the first time, didn't get it,
right,
and then came around a second time. So talk us through that a little bit.
Well, the first time they had all of the head coaches that were interviewing prospective coaches, and I was number one in all of them, but then somehow I didn't get the job. So I was a little disturbed at that because they had stopped women's basketball, and I thought I would really like to get it going again from the beginning, and it didn't happen. And then 5 years later, the AD called me and said, we're considering you. And I said, well, you didn't want me last time, and I was number one with all the other coaches, and unfortunately, I didn't get the job, so I'm not interested. So then they called me back and said, you have the job if you want it. And so I did say, and you probably didn't know this, I did say, I talked to my wife, and I said, okay, I'll do it. And then about 2 days later, I said, I don't want it, and I turned it down. Then 2 days after that, I said, okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I was undecided because I wasn't sure that I wanted to do all the travel. It was like leaving a program that was a high school program, but a program that I really enjoyed and was very successful, and everything was in place to continue to be successful. So it was going to be a difficult job, I thought.
What was the deciding factor to take the job?
I think I had to do it just to see what it was like. And, if it didn't turn out well, I always had confidence in the coaching part of it, but there was parts of it, the NCAA rules, the recruiting part. I knew a lot about New Mexico, so I was always happy with talking about New Mexico to recruits. But it was just a difficult transition, I thought. And then the travel was tough. But the first day, Rudy Davilo said, why don't you go over and meet with the team? So I went over to meet with the team. And they were all sitting down. And I could tell no height. I could tell we're in deep trouble. I went, my high school team was bigger and taller than this group of kids. And so fortunately, I brought one of my players from El Dorado who no D1 wanted her, and I knew she was definitely a D1 player, Katie Kern. And she came, and she brought that enthusiasm and that winning enthusiasm from our program. And then I was fortunate to have some really outstanding players there. There was a couple that were, they were definitely D1s. There was a few that weren't D1s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about those early years. You mentioned it a little bit, but what was the crowd like? How did you get the team to buy in?
Well, the first thing I said, I don't care if anybody pays at all to come in, because I've been to a game here. And when I came to that game, there wasn't enough people to sit in the front row all the way around the pit. The attendance was terrible. They had never won a conference game in 4 years. So that was distracting. The players were really not very happy with playing basketball at UNM. And so I had some conversations with, trying to encourage them to encourage one another, even on campus, to say that we were going to have a good year. And it worked part of the time.
Yeah.
We did pretty well for the first year. I thought we accomplished quite a bit.
I remember as a player, a story you would tell us a lot was that you would send your players up into the stands after the game and
I
thank
did.
every person that would come to the game.
I did that. And not only that, I had them bring the young girls in and play at halftime. I tried to do everything to get people to come to the game. And I said that at different meetings with Lobo Club members. And I said, just give it a chance. Come see. At that time, women's basketball was not well respected.
Right.
And I said, give it a chance. I used to tell in the big meetings with all the men, I used to say, the women they don't slam the ball. They don't dunk, but neither can you. And most of these big old guys said, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And that was important. I wanted to connect with the fans. And with having our players, I would send them up each aisle. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years, and pretty soon they wouldn't let them go. The fans wanted autographs, and pretty soon I'm waiting for them in the locker room, and they can't get back in time because they've been up in the stands. And we all used to go out to the center court and thank the fans, and we wanted to do that because prior to my first year, there was just no interest in it all. They wanted us to play in Johnson Gym. And I said, no, we're not doing that. I told, when the media came down the first year, we were at 2:00 for the media. The men were at 1:00. And no, it was reversed. We were at 1:00. The men were at 2:00. Well, the media came down about 5 till 2, because they were just coming for the men. But, I knew all of them, so I got to talk to them. And I said, someday there'll be 10,000 fans here for women. And they all thought that was amusing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You built it.
And so, oh yeah.
You built it.
That year we went to the championship game of it was the WAC at that time. We went to the championship game, and we played very well as the season kept progressing. And actually, that first season, we lost our first 2 games on the road by 1 and 2 points. And then we came home, played Oklahoma, and beat them by 15. And that brought people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to say there's going to be 10,000 fans here, right? I think a lot of people dream of that, but you actually did it. What do you think led to that as your team started to get more success and things like that? What do you think led to the interest?
I thought most of our players were likable people. They played hard, they played smart, they played together, and they became fan favorites. And we had to work through the early years when there wasn't any promotion of it. But after you get 10,000 fans at a game, actually, we had the WAC championship that first year, and we filled it. We sold it out for the championship game.
Wow.
So, and at that time, it seated 18,000.
Yep.
And now we reduced it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Added some more suites and seats,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it was consistent then year after year, top 10 in attendance. What do you think led to the success of those teams? And, why do you think those teams were so special?
Well, we always had some local players, and I think that was important. You have local players, and people have followed them in high school, and then they come. I had many parents from when I was a high school coach that came to games, and so it was a lot of local people got to liken the way we played and how hard we played and that we were successful. I used to tell them they're not coming back if we keep losing.
Right.
They'll come back if you win. And even if you don't win, if you play your hardest, they're still going to be impressed. And there was some times where we didn't win early and we played hard and we were competitive. And that was enough for them to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it was only $30 for a season ticket.
Yeah.
So $30 for a season ticket, somebody bought 100 season tickets.
Yeah. Yeah. I do remember that as, a player too, sometimes where we lose a game and it's like, oh, we're not going to have, a lot of fans. And they seem to show up in support of more, more support, knowing like, okay, they need us right now more than ever. So
yeah,
special.
We had great fans, and I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I should have. In the early days, I really appreciated it. And it was a goal of mine to keep encouraging people to come to games. Yeah. And then it worked.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I didn't want the players getting spoiled. Well, we were the envy of all the conferences. We were the envy of the WAC conference when we played in the WAC, and we were the envy of the Mountain West as far as our attendance goes. We played that first year. We played the championship, as I said, in the pit, and nobody would ever vote for us to come back to the pit again for the championship. Yep. We mostly went to Vegas, which I enjoyed.
Yep.
And we did well in Denver, too.
Yep. Very cool. All right. So I had to write down some of these Coach Flanagan rules. All right. So yawning, 5 push-ups. Not racking your own basketball, 5 push-ups. Cursing or swearing, 5 push-ups. No eye contact, 5 push-ups. You said yes on every make and clear on every miss. We set goals before every game and talked about synergy of what we wanted to keep the other team to. What went into some of these rules and into your coaching philosophy?
That was probably over the years, coaching. One of the things you don't like to see as you're talking to players is their mouth wide open. I used to tell them, you probably have a lack of oxygen, and I'm going to help you with that. And I'd make them run. But eye contact, I don't want people looking all over. I didn't want to be boring and have long practices, but at the same time, I wanted to have aggressive, hard-working, game speed practices. And so you can't yawn for those. What were the other push-ups I made them do?
Not racking your own basketball.
Oh, yeah. I had a bunch of people that thought they were all-stars and give somebody else a ball and have them rack it. I didn't like that at all. We're a team, and then you rack your own ball if you're part of the team.
Yep.
I was just telling my grandson, in fact, I think I made him do 50 push-ups the other day. Not all at once, but 5 because he didn't listen, because he didn't follow through, because he didn't say clear when he missed a shot, because he didn't say yes when he hit a shot.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
And a lot of what you went into, and I remember doing this a lot, was the visualization. A lot of what you took was from the book, The Secret, and it was positive mindset, not just in basketball, but in everything, we did in life. And,
Absolutely.
What went into that for you?
I started doing that, it was a book called Basketball Cybernetics. And I read it and I said, that makes a lot of sense, to have them have goals, to have the players to visualize a positive outcome. And there was some science to it that said that, it's equally as good as you making a shot if you visualize yourself making a shot. In high school, I don't know if I did it in college, but in high school, I had pictures of the basket with a hand going inside.
Yep.
And I told them to, in your room, put it on the wall, on your foot of your bed, and then make 20, 50 shots every single time before you go to sleep. Did that work?
Yeah. I don't know if it worked. I mean, I took a lot of shots. I don't know if a lot of them went in, but I remember you giving us that.
Yeah, that definitely helps, I
Yeah.
think. You know, and the biggest problem, I think, in shooting is mental,
Yeah.
you know? And if you believe in yourself and if you clear the misses, you clear that out of your mind, then you're ready for the next opportunity to shoot.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time in my basketball career to really become a good shooter. I
Mhm.
wasn't early on. And then I had a buddy of mine in college that just put repetition, and we would have, he had a key to the gym, and we would just go shoot, shoot, shoot. And pretty soon you become a pretty good shooter if you
Mhm.
do that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I know that you can't, pick just one, but what are some of your favorite coaching memories here at UNM?
That game that I just gave you, Mississippi State, I think they were ranked 12th in the country. They had the leading scorer in the country. It was the second round of the NCAA tournament, and we won it pretty easily.
In the pit too, right?
Yeah, it was in the pit, and there was 18,000 people there. And then we played Miami the first game, and we tied them at the end, went into overtime. We might have gone 2 overtimes and won that game. So we got to the Sweet 16. I didn't think we played well in the Sweet
Mhm.
16. That was kind of unfortunate. I thought we should have played better,
Mhm.
but it was, we're the only ones that have done it so far.
Yeah.
Maybe this group will do it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Favorite moments in the pit? Besides those two you just mentioned, but favorite
Oh,
moments in
wow.
the pit?
I don't, after that Mississippi State game, Holly, what's her name? Holly Rowe, she's on
Mhm.
all the time. She interviewed us and Mandy Moore after that game. And that was pretty exciting because the fans all stayed.
Yep.
I really enjoyed that. When was your
We played in the
champion?
NCAA tournament in 2000. It was my sophomore year, so it was the 2007, 2008 season. That was special. Lost to West Virginia on a buzzer beater.
Oh, we did. I remember that. And we had the last shot.
Mm-hmm.
I should have given it to you.
No, you gave it to Dion, who was our all-time leading scorer. So
And
that was
she
a smart
drove, and
coaching.
she had a pretty good shot.
That was a
too.
smart coaching decision. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we should have beaten them, I thought.
Yeah.
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 But we had a lot of good conference games, and I'm not sure. I think the year that we won in Denver, that we played Utah, who seemed to have our number, and we played Utah in the championship. And at halftime, the score was 33-33. And then the second half, we outscored them like 30-8. And that was pretty special, especially to beat them and then to beat them so well. Other things, there was many great times, and I had great kids. That's the most important thing to a coach, I think, is to have great kids, to be a factor in their life, be a factor in their game, and then we've been rewarded with terrific fan support. So it was great 16 years.
Well, thank you, Coach, for joining us today and for the time. I know I've said this to you before, but I know you helped change my life. You gave me an opportunity, to live out my dream, and be forever grateful for that, to you. And thanks for taking the time to be on here today and for helping build UNM women's
Thank you.
basketball.
You scared me. I thought you were going to go to Minnesota, and I kept recruiting you, and you had an AAU coach.
Yep.
That I kept calling all the time. I said, tell her how, because he had been in New Mexico.
Yep.
Tell her how good New Mexico is. And now you haven't left.
Haven't left. The winters are a lot better here.
They surely are, especially this year.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Amy.
All right.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
The Lobo Pod is a production of UNM Athletics.